This session is brought to you by CampaignCouncil.org. CampaignCouncil.org offers capital campaign leadership, planning, and management for nonprofits. CampaignCouncil.org partners with public libraries in North America to raise capital for building projects. Learn more at CampaignCouncil.org.
Hello and welcome to Preparing for 2020 Digital Year-End Fundraising, Strategies and Tactics to Make It a Success. I'm Christina McPhillips, Vice President of Business Development at Carl Bloom Associates, and for this session, I'm one of your presenters. Here with me today is my colleague and fellow COVID mama who also wants a haircut, Cassie Coccaro, the Creative Director at Carl Bloom Associates. Cassie has written and fundraised for public media, public libraries, Habitat for Humanity affiliates, Covenant House, and more. And she got her nonprofit career start in PR and communications for the National Kidney Foundation and the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids in New York. And a little about me, I have fundraised for animal welfare, public media, and public libraries. I sit on the board of the Atlanta Fulton Public Library Foundation, and I got my nonprofit career start as a Razor's Edge database gal at the American Red Cross. So Cassie, we have a really fun and kind of summary presentation for the audience today, but before we go on, we would be really remiss if we didn't discuss COVID-19 and the social justice movement, something I think we both care about deeply. So Cassie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, hi everyone. It's so good to be here. So both of these issues that are happening right now are so very much on our radar. In terms of the social justice issue, we are so passionate as an agency and a company about making sure that we are continuing to have important conversations as a company about our own role as an agency and how we can use our platform for positive change. When it comes to our clients, we're working hard every single day to make sure that language and messaging is appropriate, sensitive, and reflects our clients' roles in their community when it comes to social justice and what's going on in our world right now. So that is on the forefront of our radar, and we're having really important conversations day in and day out about this. When it comes to COVID-19, we've been working really hard on that language as well. That's really been part of what we're doing every single day, is looking at all of our communications and making sure that they're sensitive to that situation as well, and that we're really changing and molding with the times.
Okay, great. So let's get into the meat of things, and we hope that some of the imagery used in this presentation will make you feel like you're at the beach. I think if this presentation had a theme song, it would be Bananarama, Cruel Summer. So if you'd like to play that in the background, we welcome you to do that. So Cassie, let's get things kicked off with talking about how important year-end digital fundraising is. And I'll say a couple of things. The stats are showing, this is from an M&R benchmark report that just came out this spring, that in 2019, total online revenue grew by 10%, and that email revenue actually increased for the first time ever, and Facebook revenue accounted for 3.5% of all online giving, which is pretty significant. And Giving Tuesday is still really gaining traction, and I know you have some thoughts specifically about Giving Tuesday. What do you think?
Yeah, so it seems like every year we get some questions from people and from our clients saying, is Giving Tuesday worth it? You know, does it take away from our year-end income? Should we still be doing it? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? And as an agency and somebody who's writing all of the creative for all of our clients, I can tell you that based on results, Giving Tuesday is very important. It's only growing as time goes on. So even if you think people are sick of it or it might be silly, it's definitely a huge driver of year-end income. And in general, your year-end fundraising is really important and going to be a big revenue boost for you if you do it right.
Yeah, okay, excellent points. So truisms for libraries. So Cassie, libraries of all sizes are listening. So talk to us a little bit about what they can do depending on their size.
Yeah, so we know that there are a range of libraries on this call and attending this conference in general, big to small and everything in between. So perhaps you're a small and mighty library that sends less than 2 or maybe even no direct mail or email appeals per year. Maybe you don't take online donations at all, or you use PayPal's platform because it's easier for you right now and you don't have that capability on your website. Maybe you're a medium-sized library who is comfortable appealing to your donors and does it sometimes, but you don't already have a strong year-end fundraising program. Or maybe you're a larger organization and you already have a well-established fundraising program at the end of the year that's working really well for you and you just want to expand on it. No matter what your library's size and no matter what your library's capabilities, digital fundraising at year-end matters. I think that's the point of this entire presentation, is that year-end fundraising really matters. It's going to look different for every single library, but we have something for all of you. That's the good news. Like, we have some tips for all of you, and you can make it work so that you do see some income at this time of year.
Good. Okay, let's go through some of those tips. I really want to see specifically what you're recommending for the larger libraries. And as we were talking this through and kind of creating the presentation, we were thinking, okay, well, let's show everybody what an ARC would look like for a large library, and then what it would look like for a small library. So if while you're looking at what Cassie is talking about now, it feels like it is too robust, just wait, we have another slide for you. And if you kind of fall into the middle, you can make a hybrid program for yourself. So Cassie, please go ahead with this large library ARC.
Sure. So year-end fundraising is not one size fits all. If you're a large library, I know there are some on the call right now who's very comfortable with a year-end giving program. What we've found to work is an ARC that looks something like this. Again, it can look different for every library, but Giving Tuesday might look like 4 to 5 emails starting the week before to really get the momentum going early, and ending with a thank you. And we'll talk about cultivations and thank you emails a little bit later in the presentation. It might be 4 to 5 even organic social media posts, and this is going to depend very strongly on your current existing social media presence and how much other content you're posting at the same time. And then all the updates your website can handle. So that might be a light box, or otherwise known as a pop-up, that comes up when somebody visits your homepage. It might be a homepage ad or a screen on your homepage alongside your other content, and a branded donation form with a banner and some copy. For holiday, we take it down just a little bit. So it might look something like 2 to 3 emails total, including a happy holidays cultivation. Again, we'll talk about those in a minute. 2 to 3 social media posts that are organic, that your team, your social media team or person is posting during this time of year. 1 social media ad, maybe a light box, homepage ad, all of that good stuff on your website. And then for year end, which we consider the couple of days, the last few days of the year, maybe that's December 27th or 28th through year end, that's when we really kick it into high gear for your donors, because this is when they really are most likely to give and make their year end gift. So we're talking 3 to 4 emails with urgent language, as urgent as appropriate in 2020. You know, we're working with that. 3 to 4 organic social media posts, 2 social media ads, a light box, homepage ad. You know, basically everything your website can handle at this time of year should be updated with a little bit more of an urgent, deadline-oriented message at year end.
Okay, now on to the small guys. What can you tell us about that? How do they narrow it down?
Sure. So again, very, very flexible, depending, and it's going to change depending on your capabilities and the size of your organization and how often you currently reach out to your list and what your lists look like. But for a small library, this might look something like 2 emails for Giving Tuesday, maybe the day before and the day of Giving Tuesday, couple of organic social media posts, 1 social media ad if you have the capabilities and budget to do that, a light box or pop-up on your homepage, a homepage ad, a branded donation form, anything you're able to do. This is the time to say, hey, web team, hey, everybody, let's see if we can make this work at least for year end, because it's a really important time of year. After Giving Tuesday and before the very end of the year, during holiday, maybe you just send a happy holidays cultivation email to keep your audiences engaged and have them feeling thanked and appreciated at that time of year. 1 fundraising appeal maybe, and a social media post. You don't necessarily have to have special holiday communications on your website. If you have the opportunity to do that, I think that's great. And then for year end, maybe it looks something like 2 emails and 2 social media posts and a social media ad and a light box. As long as there's nothing irrelevant on your website, like make sure you take your Giving Tuesday stuff down when Giving Tuesday's over. I think it's really about doing what you can at this time of year to drive as much income as possible.
So you brought up a good point with kind of tidying up your website as appropriate as the campaigns go on. And let me just kind of go back and focus for a moment on websites. So you and I know our digital team feels really strongly that if a nonprofit were going to invest in themselves at all, they should be investing in website maintenance, website improvement, sometimes even a new website increasing the ability to give online. But I want to hear from you the different things that the organizations listening today could be doing for their websites to improve the user experience, donations, and one final thought is I always think of the website as being a nonprofit's resume. It is what people out there really, they look for you, they find out all the details about you. So let it be reflective of how wonderful you are. But what do you think, Cassie?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're spot on. So if there's any time during the year that I think in a regular year, probably this year too, people are saying, hey, you know what? I want to support my library this year. They've done so much for me at this time of year. They've done so much for me in this crazy year. I want to make them the charity that I give to on Giving Tuesday, or I want to make them the nonprofit I give to at year end. What is that person going to experience when they Google how to do that? So it's important that these people who find you and who want to find you, whether or not they've received email communications or anything from you, that they can clearly, quickly, and easily figure out how to make a gift. So there's little tests that Christina and I like to do and help our clients do and tell our friends to do, which is to pretend that whether or not you have received something from an organization or not, pretend you're a donor or a potential donor who decided that they want to support your library at this time of year. So Google yourself, Google your library, Google donate to your library name, Google donate to my public library in city, visit the website that you have with the intention of making a gift as a donor, and then think about this experience when you're done. Was it easy to figure out how to donate? Was it easy to find your own donation button on your homepage or find your donation form? Do you have a donation form on your website? Because that would be an excellent place to start. Go to your own library's homepage too. Is it easy to find what you need to do? No matter what. So we know that plenty of you on this call already have websites that you've put a lot of work into and are already really set up for prospective donors. But for those who aren't quite there yet, that's okay. There's time. That's the beauty of listening to this webinar in June. This is a great time to take a look at your website, and maybe this exercise can really help you as a smaller library or just a library who hasn't had this capability yet. Figure out what you need to put in place to make this an easier experience for your donors, and I can almost guarantee you that this will increase your revenue if your website's in really good shape at this time of year. And then you've got a cool website. So that's great.
Good. Okay, great investment. Thanks, Cassie. Such wonderful information. Let's go on to the next bit. So as the viewers are watching this and thinking, okay, well, you know, how am I going to do the things that she's recommending? Let's walk them through this step by step.
Sure, yeah. I'll tell you a secret about CBA. As an agency, we not only subscribe to all the emails of our own clients and try to get on all the lists we can for our own clients, but we get ourselves onto the lists, the email lists of many, many other organizations, both libraries and other nonprofit organizations across all verticals, because we want to, you know, we can read everything that we want to about nonprofits and what they're doing and what the trends are, but we really don't get a full picture until we see what other organizations are really putting into place. And there's no reason why you can't do this too and see what those organizations are putting into practice. So we'd encourage you to do the same. Now's the time to subscribe to communications of organizations that you admire or that are similar to yours, or that you consider competitors. I mean, there's not a lot of competitors in the nonprofit field or library fields, but think about similar libraries that are close to you and, you know, geographically, that aren't part of your own system, or libraries that are similar in size, and get on their list now and keep an eye on what they're doing and how it makes you feel when you receive these communications. So this might also be a good time to go back into your emails from November or even October, November, December of 2019 and see what you find that these other organizations that you've already subscribed to sent out. And you can even use actually for-profit brands too for some inspiration. There have been plenty of cool designed emails that I've seen that come from clothing brands or other brands that I like that kind of set off a light bulb in my brain when I'm working with our designers to say, this would be really cool to lay out a nonprofit email this way. So definitely smaller libraries who don't have a good, you know, like full plan set up already, this can serve as some really good inspiration for you to get started. And even larger libraries, it's never a bad idea to survey the field and see what's going on out there.
Okay, great. So let's go into what everybody can do right now.
Sure. So right now, you should be setting goals. No matter how large or small your library, it's really true for everybody that you should be setting goals that work for you. This will help you define your objectives at this time of year and give you and your team a sense of what you want to accomplish at year end this year and beyond. And it'll also give you something to celebrate when you're done, which is really nice because we believe that when this is done right, you will meet those goals and hopefully you'll exceed them. So then you can be really happy about that. And while it might be a challenge for some smaller libraries, we want to talk about matching gifts for a second. So year after year, without fail, campaign after campaign, even over the course of the year, even our smallest library clients have had success with matches. And this is another thing we get a lot of questions about. Like, are donors sick of matches? Do they not believe in them anymore? Do they still work? Is this a tactic that we're sort of exhausting? And as a human being, I would think, yes, we're using this too much, but the truth is they work time after time. And I think the reason for that is because people really always want to know their gift is going to go as far as possible. They don't care that you just had a match in September and now it's November and you're offering another one. I really, based on our numbers and what we're seeing as in our results, donors don't care about that. They just want to know that their gift is going to go as far as possible. So that's why we say try to secure a match. So for smaller organizations, this might look something like, oh my gosh, we got an $8,000 gift this year from a board member, from somebody that had the means to do so. Maybe we can actually call that board member and say, do you mind if we hold this and use this as a matching gift campaign this year? And that tactic works as well. And often we find that these people who have donated the significant amount of money are very excited to use it to help the income go further and help donors really feel like their gift is being maximized. And then the last tip we'd offer for you to think about right now, since it's June and we've got plenty of time, is how you can be a storyteller. The holidays and this time of year are just such a wonderful time for storytelling, and now is the time to get your stories straight. What can you tell in your what story can you tell in your communications this year? Maybe you can look back on COVID-19, hopefully look back on COVID-19, or at least what you offered this year, and remember the way that your library helped your community and your patrons during that time remotely. Did you get any lovely notes from your patrons or your community members about your hard work during this time? Or did a library go above and beyond for you, for your branches when they were closed, and for your patrons? You might want to tell those stories in your communications to help donors really understand the importance of what you do and inspire them, and make them realize through a story or multiple stories at this time of year that their gift really does make a difference, and their gift is what supports these amazing stories and will help you tell even more stories in the coming year.
Mm-hmm. When Cassie and I were building this presentation, we were talking about the amazing stories that we have, excuse me, heard over our time in fundraising. And my favorite one ever comes from a man at Arizona Public Media. He is the major gifts officer there, and he goes to the major gift prospects and explains that his truth is he was a non-English speaking child, and he learned how to speak English from watching PBS programming. And so he's able to take this beautiful story of a little boy who learned the native language and tell that to the major donors. And it is a real true story of the impact of that kind of an organization. And that's the story that we love to hear. And I'm sure that you have those stories too. So let's go on to building the campaign and focusing on the details. Cassie, tell us about integration, big word, everybody knows about it. Talk to us about integration.
Yeah, so just in case everybody doesn't know about it, integration to us really means having all of your materials at this time of year, or even in buckets like Giving Tuesday and then holiday and then year end, sort of be co-branded. And by that we mean have all the language work together and sound similar, have all the branding, the visual branding look alike so that people understand that this campaign is a full campaign. And for libraries who are able to execute a full suite of digital year-end materials like emails together with light boxes and social media ads and Google ads and donation form banners, or any combination of these, even if just two of these things, it's important to make sure that your elements match in terms of look and tone to whatever extent possible. This creates a seamless experience for your donors, and when the donation form, for example, just matches an email that you just saw in your inbox, it subconsciously increases a donor's trust and makes that person execute and go the full way with their gift. So we would recommend that you really take a look at these 3 buckets: Giving Tuesday, Holiday, Year-End, and make sure that all of the materials in those 3 buckets sort of look alike. For you, it might mean all of Giving Tuesday looks similar, and there's a ton of stuff on the Giving Tuesday website that can help you brand your Giving Tuesday campaign. And then maybe everything from after Giving Tuesday through Year-End looks and feels alike to you, with like a slight uptick in the urgent tone at the end of the year. So again, this is going to look very different for every library depending on what you're planning on doing at this time of year, but to whatever extent possible, we would recommend that you co-brand and integrate everything.
And Cassie, before we go on, a question I have for you: if someone were going to run social ads, do you recommend that they run just static images, carousel, or video? What are your recommendations?
Yeah, so we like to see a healthy mix of everything. Time after time, videos and animations tend to perform the best, but these are also the most challenging for people to, for our clients to get together, and that's why we help them with them. But if you're a library that doesn't have video or animation capabilities, we would recommend taking a look at some of the stuff that Facebook offers in terms of formatting your ads. So there are carousel ads, and that means those ads that have like frames in them, so you can click over and they slide. So you could put a few images of what you've been doing this year, or your collections at the library, or it's going to look different for everybody basically. But that, and running alongside a static ad that's just an image, you can design something. But when you have video, video always wins, almost always wins.
Okay, good to know. So more about social media.
Yeah, so social media can be a huge driver of gifts at this time of year. So we like to say plan at least 1 to 3 organic fundraising posts during each piece of the year-end period. So 1 to 3 for Giving Tuesday, 1 to 3 during the holiday time, 1 to 3 ads during the year-end period, which are the final days of the year. The number of posts and how aggressively you tackle organic posts, it's going to depend very much on your library size, as well as your social media following and your social media habits right now. So we understand, like, maybe you never ask for money on social, maybe your organic posts never talk about fundraising. That's okay. If there was ever a time to do it, it's this time of year, or of course when you have like a very large match or important campaign. But this time of year is a great time to just throw some posts up there, and they should be mixed in with other posts that talk about other things, because people really visit social media for content and not necessarily to be asked for money. But if you do it right, with the right language and the right number of posts and a good balance, you can really increase your fundraising at the end of the year by looking at social media. While I know that some of you, many of you actually, are already comfortable doing Facebook ads and maybe boosted posts, which is you are basically putting money behind an organic post so that it shows as an ad, or maybe CBA is already running some of this stuff for you already. This is a good time in June, a few months before the end of the year, for libraries who haven't explored paid ads to do so in preparation for year end. And we have a very good digital strategist at CBA who is much more well-versed in these things than I am, but from my understanding, it doesn't have to be a massive spend on these ads, as long as your audience selection is good, and Facebook really has a good platform that can help take you through all of that. So this might just be a good time for you to explore this at the end of the year. And then another thing you can do on social media, and I guess I'm mostly talking to smaller libraries here, but this can work for others who just don't have the capability to raise money on their own website. You can, of course, use Facebook's platform itself for fundraising. So that might be something that you want to look into if you don't have the time or the means to update your website and your donation form right now as well.
Okay, so let's talk about our feelings next. So, you know, it's that saying, people won't remember what you said or did, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And I think that that applies very much to nonprofits and the ones that we work with. So let's talk about cultivation and thanking people.
Yeah, so there's a psychology behind making a donation, and it's not only about believing that your money is going to do good, which we really think that with libraries that's a given. It's about making sure that your donor feels as appreciated as you feel they should be. I know you all appreciate your donors. You want them to know it. And a good way to do this is with cultivation emails. And these are emails that don't necessarily ask for money at all. They might, and I really love when they have a donation button in the footer, just in case a person is so moved to give that they want to, and it's easy to find. But these are emails that really just say thank you. They say happy holidays. They say this is what we accomplished this year. They say look at this amazing video that our team put together of all the things we've done during COVID-19 virtually. You should steer clear of a hard donation asks, but really punctuate your fundraising arc with these cultivation emails, because it really helps people understand what your value is as an organization and a library, and why it's important that they give to you, and helps them feel appreciated. At the end of matching gift campaigns especially, and at the end of your campaigns in general, it's really important to thank your donors and make sure they know, not only did I give, but my library is really grateful that I gave. And that can really keep that donor on board for a longer time, and they feel really special. That's important.
Yeah. And there are survey results that show that the thing that people care about the most is a quick and effective thank you. So, okay, that's a great way to build donor loyalty. All right, so let's wrap it up and kind of go through all of the wonderful tips that you've shared today, Cassie. So here are the top 10, the David Letterman, Cassie Coccaro top 10 key action items.
People get me and David Letterman mixed up all the time. Okay, so just to review, year-end fundraising is important. I think you've gotten that from everything that we've said on this presentation, but it's important not only for libraries who have been doing it forever and are really comfortable and used to doing it, but it's important for libraries that are smaller, or libraries that haven't gotten it together with a year-end campaign. It's really important, and it's a really great opportunity for you. Number two, your website matters, and now is the time to clean it up and get it ready and do that donation form test where you pretend to be a donor and see what you experience. Again, survey the field, go back into your email inbox, see what you can find from other organizations, get some inspiration, gather some thoughts, get your team together and talk about them. Number four, set goals. They can be ambitious but realistic, and then you can celebrate when you meet them. Number five is look for a matching gift. If you start now, it's possible. We've seen teeny tiny organizations say, we can't do it. And then they talk to their board or they talk to their community, and somebody with money steps forward and offers a matching gift campaign. So hopefully somebody on your team is comfortable chatting with those who are potential gift givers of matching gifts, and you can start working on that now. Number six is tell your library story. And this just reminds me, I wanted to add one thing about telling the story. I actually have had a couple of clients say to me like, oof, like, you know, telling this person's story to raise money feels kind of icky. And I just want to say, absolutely not. I just want you to know that you need to show people what your library does. And it's such a good motivator for people to support you if they really understand, and their heartstrings are sort of pulled on a little bit, so that they feel like you're an organization worth supporting. So that made me upset when I heard that, and I just want to say not to think about it like that. Make sure that you really use your stories to illustrate the beauty of your organization and what you're doing. Integrate and co-brand your year-end assets, just making sure everything looks and feels and sounds similar. Get active on social media now. There's time. So if your social media platform is collecting dust, you're not posting a lot, dust it off. Start talking to your social media followers. Start trying to get some more social media followers knowing that year-end is coming, and it's a great platform to raise funds on. Cultivate your audiences, say thank you, make them feel appreciated. And finally, say thank you. And that's just really important, making sure that you send your thank you emails when campaigns are done or when you've reached a certain goal. And that's what we have to say about year-end giving.
Okay, good. Okay, and with that thank you, I will say thank you to you, Cassie, and thank you to the audience. And I know that we have time for some question and answer now. So please send us your questions. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing out there? We're so pleased to have talked to you. I've got my friend and colleague, Cassie, with me. Hi, Cass. Can you hear us?
Hi, how is everybody?
Good.
I can.
Perfect. Okay, so we actually have a ton of questions and we have a good amount of time, so we really want to answer those questions for you. Cassie, okay, the first one, and pardon me as I look at the second screen to decide which questions we're gonna ask. So I think a really good one to start with is a couple of libraries asked, can you define for us what a small, medium, and large library are? And we should say that we think of this in terms of their size kind of digitally, their digital footprint. So go ahead, Cassie, tell us what you think about that.
Yeah, hello everyone, and sorry if I end up looking at my other screen as well. I think everybody understands the situation. We're all in working from our guest rooms in my case. Yeah, so for the purposes of this presentation and the slides that you just saw, I think we are really mostly talking about your digital capabilities and as well as your existing year-end fundraising arc and what you usually do in terms of reaching your donors at that time of year, as well as throughout the year, with emails and other digital components. So it's not necessarily, it's obviously not the size of your building. It's not even the size of the community you serve, although that can certainly play a role. I think it really depends on how robust your digital fundraising program is. And that's how we defined it when we put together this presentation.
Okay, good. Okay, so with that, let's go on to something that a number of people were really interested in, and that's how can they increase their social media following? And we want you to know that with everything we're talking about, it's June. This is when we as an agency start working on campaigns. A lot of times we're even conceptualizing what we're going to do even months before this and looking at what other nonprofits are doing and kind of evaluating the environment, fundraising environment. But Cassie, let's outline what libraries can be doing now to increase their social media awareness in time for all important year-end giving.
Sure. So I would say, and apologies because I didn't take notes on this one, so I'm just going to speak off the cuff. This really has to do with frequently reaching out to your existing social media audiences starting now, if you're not already. Not necessarily with fundraising asks. I think there should be a really nice balance, especially right now. You should focus on really good cultivation pieces. Anything that your library is doing to help people during this time, post about it. Make sure you're on across as many channels as makes sense for your library. So for many libraries, this is Facebook, but it also means Instagram. I would post everything that you're doing virtually. Maybe you could even say a few times a week, we're going to feature a different program that we're doing virtually right now while our physical locations are closed. We want to really over the course of between now and year end, share our value on social media and generate as much conversation as possible, because that really tends to generate buzz and in turn more followers and attention on your social media page. And another thing I think that libraries can do is not only posting your own content, but news articles that come out, even if they don't feature your library, just about the importance of libraries during this time. Anything that really makes libraries seem even more valuable right now and gives people some value to take home just right from social media. That could be live stream videos. Really sharing good content right now is the best way to boost your social media following.
Okay. And as the presentation, the pre-recorded presentation was going on, Cassie and I were writing to each other as you guys asked some questions, and we were even able to pull in Evan Watson, who's our digital marketing manager. And I kind of think of Evan as our savant, our internal savant. He is meticulous and he knows so many fine details about Facebook marketing and tracking gifts online and a multitude of other things. He really is our brilliant mind. But his summary of how to increase your social media followings is, and I will read what he said, it starts with developing a strategy for what kind of content people want to see on social media. There's informational stuff, which is events and closings and things like that. Then there's interesting content that people may want to consume. What books do librarians currently recommend? What cool stuff does the library offer? And then there's more social part, the more social part, which is responding to people, curating interesting information from other sites and posting it. So those are his top tips about starting to build a following on social media.
Yeah, can I add one thing, Christina?
Yes.
So if you have a teeny bit of money, and forgive me because I'm not going to be able to get into how much money you might actually need for this, but we're certainly available at any time to consult on this, to boost, or meaning putting a few ad dollars behind some social media posts that are working really well in terms of engagement right now on your site, even if they're a little bit older, as long as the content is still relevant, you can put a little bit of money behind those posts and boost them, and that also can increase some social media activity as well. And I'm talking about Facebook mostly.
Okay, great. So another thing that's kind of closely related to that, the question came up, how can people increase their email size before year end? This is something to really concentrate on, because we know there's a direct correlation with the number of emails you send versus the amount of money you can raise. So Cassie, what are your tips?
Yeah, and I'm really happy that we're doing this in June, because this is a question that we sometimes get in October and November, and it's like, oof, we can work with you to increase your email lists, but it's probably not going to make a huge difference for this year. However, with 5 or 6 months to go until the end of the year, you actually do have some time to collect some more emails. So this is a great question, and something to think about right now. So everybody should think about how they're currently collecting new email addresses. How are new emails coming in? Do you have a newsletter that you're sending out? Do you have a sign up box on your website? Can you make use of a lightbox or pop up on your homepage that doesn't ask for money right now, because we're not at the year end? Anytime is a great time to ask for money on a lightbox. But if your goal is to increase your email subscribers, a great way to do that is to spend some time with a lightbox on your site that asks for people to sign up. Of course, you do need to be prepared to offer them some content, probably, depending on how you're asking for that email address. And that's just a good practice, is to engage people once they do sign up. You don't want them to sign up on your website or elsewhere and then immediately hit them with fundraising asks if possible. There should be some strategy around other pieces of content that you're sending them before you do that. But there's plenty of time to send them a couple of things before you get into the October, November, December year-end time frame. A newsletter is something that doesn't necessarily need to be a huge lift or go out every week, certainly not every day. It can be something that you start thinking about as quarterly, perhaps. Just an email update about where your library stands with certain things, what you're offering right now. Your virtual programming is a great thing to send out right now, that's free for your audiences and email subscribers. That really gives them some value to remember, even if that's subconsciously at the end of the year. I know in-person events aren't happening for most or all of you right now, but once they do start up again, any in-person events that you attend, host, have a booth at, anything at all, can be used for email collection if you do it right. So if you come across people who are interested in learning about the library or staying up to date, don't ignore the fact that that's a great opportunity to get those people on your list. So really take a look at your website, take a look at what you're doing and your existing sources of collecting email addresses, and see where else, what other opportunities exist to help you expand.
Okay, so another thing that I wanted to mention to everybody was, if you are looking for really good examples of libraries that do this and you'd like to receive those emails and you'd like to follow them on social media, Cassie and I work with Brooklyn Public Library, and we do their emails, and we do a lot of the social media paid ads that they run and direct mail and things like that. I would say they're a really good organization if you're looking for like actual examples of everything we're talking about. So go ahead and follow them. I hope that that content is very helpful to you. Cassie, another question that has come in is, and I have something to say about this one too, but many areas are creating their own individual giving days. There's the North Texas Giving Day in late September and things like this. How close is too close to avoid Giving Day fatigue and confusion? And I have to put a pitch in for Library Giving Day, whose results we're going to be sharing in the 2:30 Eastern time slot today. It's really it's a 15-minute presentation that talks about the extreme success that we saw in the 2020 Library Giving Day. So that's my vote for maybe don't create your own, use the momentum that exists from Library Giving Day and then Giving Tuesday. But Cassie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to start with Library Giving Day. That's our favorite giving day. But these individual giving days for libraries and for organizations tend to work really well in general when they're executed right. So there's a nice suite of fundraising materials around them. We have seen giving days work well in place of or right next to Giving Tuesday and year end, but even more so, I would separate them. You'll notice that Library Giving Day is in April. That's very far away from November. I think Giving Tuesday is a really great built-in giving day. And in my mind, and what we've seen with the results is, why bother competing with it? It's natural, it's there. Your library can really succeed on that giving day that's laid out for you, and start thinking about your own giving day. If you're not going to participate in Library Giving Day, or you want to add your own for whatever reason, then I would separate that from year end, because year end is a given. You're going to get some income if you do it right. This could be a really great way and time to boost income at a time of year where it might be a little bit slower than year end, but they can work, and we've seen them work at all times of year.
Okay, great. Cassie, I want to go on to one specific question, which was, sounds like our advice is around year end beginning in June instead of December. Can you clarify the things that we've been saying?
Oh, yeah. So I think the person who asked this question was asking about their fiscal year ending in June. And we have certainly done fiscal year end campaigns for libraries and other clients that have been really successful. So that might be a year end that you want to talk about in April, May, June, how your fiscal year end is approaching. But year end means the calendar year end for every client that we serve and every nonprofit. It is the most likely time that a donor is going to make a gift to an organization as a whole in general. So year end should be the same across the board when we're talking about that. And we really mean the November, December final months of the year.
Okay. Let's see. Well, someone has asked about matching gifts, and I know that that's going to be a longer conversation for us. I want to just, for a moment, I want to jump ahead to a question. Do you have a ballpark of what a good open rate should be for year-end appeals, and how can you tell when your communications are too often with your donors? Unsubscribed rates, what are normal? For part one of this question, what a good open rate is, I recommend that everybody go and look at, you can Google M as in the letter M as in Mary plus R as in Robert. So the M&R benchmark report. Cassie and I both read this religiously when it comes out. You can compare yourself to other actual nonprofits. M&R puts this report out, I think it's every April. It's a fantastic report, and over the years it's gotten better at outlining email marketing growth and online giving growth, and it breaks it out by sectors. So Cassie and I both think this is fabulous. So that is where you will be able to find out what a good open rate is and then compare yourself. Part two, how can you tell when your communications are too often with your donors? I think that you'll see your open rates drop. I think that you will probably see your click-through rates drop. Cassie, I know that it's not entirely your specialty, open rates and click-through rates and things like that, but what are your thoughts on email frequency and what is too often?
Yeah, so for us, especially when we're talking year end, I'll talk about both. So when we're talking year end, the first thing is that you have to know it's going to be a given that you're going to see more unsubscribes than any other time of year, because people's inboxes are cluttered at this time. They are looking to get off certain lists. So you will have to manage a certain level of unsubscribes. That's what we see across the board with most of our clients. So it's really about taking a look at those unsubscribe rates and making sure it's a manageable level and that it's not out of control. We always err on the side of more emails at year end because of this inbox clutter. So not only are people getting emails from your organization, but they're getting emails from, for-profit organizations left and right at this time of year, shopping, online shopping, clothes shopping, everything you could imagine. And then other nonprofits, as well as this year, you'll be competing with political emails, not necessarily in the election will be over by the time a lot of this hits, but in your pre-emails, you can really think about how you'll be getting political emails as well. So oftentimes when we're creating email plans and communications plans for our clients, they'll say, "Ooh, this looks like a lot." And perhaps at another time of year, it would seem like too much. But at this time of year, there really is that competition in people's inboxes, and you need to take a look at your open rates. And remember, the majority of people are not opening your first email, your second email. They're opening just a handful in your series. So we definitely err toward more. This is going to look different for every single library. Again, this goes back to the size of your library in terms of your digital footprint, how often you reach out to your donors, your subscribers, your newsletter subscribers, things like that. So it's going to look different for everybody, but I would err on the side of more for year end.
Okay, very good. And I wanted to take one more moment. We have a number of more questions. We do actually still have more time, so we're going to get to those questions. I want to take a moment to revisit something we said within the presentation, and it is, if you're going to invest in your organization in one way, it would be website improvement. I think Cassie and I can say with certainty that there are a number of websites that would clearly make more online revenue if certain things were tidied up, if processes were cleaned up, if the online giving process was simplified. It is a direct correlation. If you have a simple website, you will have more people completing their donations. So if you were going to invest in anything with your organization, I think that that will get you the most bang for your buck. Cassie, I know we talked about this. Do you have any additional thoughts, or are you kind of good on the website investment?
Sorry, I'm not sure if you asked me something, Christina, because you cut out for a second. Did you ask me anything?
So sorry. Yes, it was just absolutely telling people that if they're going to invest in one place, it's invest on your website. And I know we talked about that in the presentation, but I just can't hammer that one home enough.
Yeah, and if for no other reason than if your website really needs that work, then this might be the year to invest in that. And then once you have that, then later, into next year and for next year, certainly for next year's year-end fundraising program, you will have the mechanics in place to do it right. So rather than just sort of putting a Band-Aid on your year-end giving program and sending out what you can when you can, I see the website almost as like the roots of your flowering year-end plan, where you get that right, and then you can really go through the year with some solid year-end fund or some solid fundraising programs throughout the year that lead to a really good, clean, intuitive website and donation form, so you are more likely to increase your income throughout the year.
Okay, great. Okay, last big question for us to review, but I did want to say, everyone, there is a question on this, on Whova, and it says, do you know of any library systems where the foundation and multiple friends groups have worked together on annual fundraising? I actually would turn this over to you, the audience. We've got about 120 people listening right now. If you look on the Q&A on the side of the video that's running, of the live stream that's running, if you can answer that question, if you've had that experience, sometimes we as an agency aren't privy to the exact details, but this might be something where you as a wider group can help each other. So I hope that's the case. Feel free to comment in that question and answer your pals. Okay, Cassie. Cassie, we like to call you the matching gift queen. Let's talk about how an organization can get a matching gift, because the specific question that we're being asked is, we're a small nonprofit / library. Where do you suggest starting to look for a matching gift? Let's really reveal the details.
Yeah, so there are lots of ways to look for a matching gift, and I'll start with this. If it's not possible, it's not possible, and that doesn't mean that your year-end fundraising will not be a success. It might just be something to strive toward in the future. We have seen plenty of successful year-end programs that do not include a matching gift, so I don't want anybody to get so hung up on it that it's like not even worth doing year-end fundraising or something because you don't have it. That's certainly not the case. However, time after time, campaign after campaign throughout the year, especially at this time of year, we don't see any fatigue in terms of these matching gift programs and grants, and they really do help increase revenue. So if you're a smaller organization, there are certain things you can do, like perhaps in the last 6 months you had a sizable gift, and if you're a small organization, perhaps this is even just a couple of $1,000s for you. It's okay to go back to that donor and say, hey, do you mind if we hold this gift and use it as a matching gift for everybody who donates until we run out of this 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever this is, 2,500 even, gift to match all these gifts. So we've seen that happen and we've seen it work pretty well. I would think about your larger donors, even from last year or the year before, as long as you're being really sensitive in your ask. It's okay to sensitively and appropriately go to that donor and say, hey, you donated to us last year. It was a sizable amount. We're looking to put together a matching gift offer. Is it possible for you to make another gift this year? And one thing that you might consider doing is reaching out to other libraries who are maybe a little bit larger. And this might be something you can discuss in the comment section, like Christina was saying. See if they have a major gifts officer who's willing to chat with you for a few minutes about the best way to start a program like this and the best way to approach a major donor to ask them for a matching gift. You can also, something else I've seen that I just thought of is a few people come together, a few board members, a few trustees, a couple of larger donors come together to build a matching fund so that it doesn't necessarily come from one person, but maybe if you have 5 people or 5 organizations coming together, it gets a little tricky with giving these people credit in the communication. So that's something you have to think about. But you might be able to build sort of a matching gift fund in that way. So think about your board members and trustees if you have them. Think about large donors from the past. Think about medium to large gifts that you've received over the last year and see if it's possible to hold those for a match. So basically getting creative. And again, if you cannot get a match, you can still have the successful year-end program. It's okay.
Okay, good. Okay, then last things. Somebody said, what are your favorite nonprofit websites? I do like the way Brooklyn Public Library ties everything together. Somebody had asked what what library I mentioned earlier that I recommend everybody follow, and it is the Brooklyn Public Library. They have great social media and emails and things like that. But I also really love and always have the presidential websites, presidential campaign websites. They're incredibly clean. They're very easy to use. They're run by the top minds in online giving. They are something to aspire to. They're kind of lofty goals, but if you're looking to see the kind of clean and tidiness that we're talking about, this is a wonderful example. So any of the presidential campaigns. And then Cassie, please, will you remind me, did we touch on year-end messaging around COVID and social justice the way you wanted to? Would you like to say anything more, or are you good on that?
Yeah, we didn't. I saw a question from somebody that basically said, I have a feeling that COVID and social justice movement are going to dominate the year-end space. And, is it worth it for us to talk about these? How heavily should we focus on them? I think the question was along those lines. I don't have it in front of me, but what I'd like to say to that is it's really going to depend on a few things. One, where we are as a country, where you are as a region at the end of the year, when people are actually going to be getting communications in their inboxes. Both of these things are obviously ongoing issues that everybody's going to be passionate about and care about at that time of year. But I think the way that you speak to your donors and you in your region is going to depend on where, what the state of things are at that time. And also what your library, if anything, is doing around these things. That could mean your virtual programming for COVID. That could mean increasing your anti-racist texts and collections at your library. If you have offered services around either of these issues that you think make your library valuable and make people understand your role in this sort of large puzzle of 2020 with everything that's going on, I definitely think you can touch on it. However, I would make your communications as flexible as you possibly can right now, just knowing that you might have to swoop in. Things are ever changing, obviously. I think we're all getting a little bit of whiplash in 2020 with following the news and everything, and you should know that things could change again, and you should be flexible with that and be able to change your communications at the last minute. So as you're crafting them, you might want to start thinking about, what will this look like if things change course? Can I change this last minute to soften this language or strengthen this language? And then obviously we're also in an election year, so that's something else to consider. And you have to not only think about what that means for competition in your inbox, but perhaps how your library will help or has helped with registering people to vote and helping them understand important issues and educating them. So there are a lot of roles that your library obviously can play in your community, and all of that is going to play a factor in your communications at the end of the year.
Okay. Cassie, I really want to thank you so much for being such a guiding presence in this conversation today. I always find everything that you say to be so insightful. And thanks for, observing the landscape of fundraising and sharing it with us. We are so glad that you joined us. We appreciate your time. We had about 120 people today, so happy digital fundraising, and come to the Library Giving Day session at 2:30. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.